Well, the Kitchener Rangers were outshot by the Marlies by about a 2-1 margin. They trail by a score of 3-1 after one period. Joining us during this intermission is Daran Moxam, overage player with the Kitchener Rangers. And Daran, the first thing I want to ask you about, you're an overage player in this league and you're not drafted by an NHL team. Is that a bit of an uneasy feeling for you?
Well, not really. You know, I play the game because I like it. I went to Winnipeg's training camp this year and had a pretty good training camp. And they wanted to send me down to the International League. I didn't want to go because I wanted to get my education. So actually, I was going to come back and just go to school at York. But by the time I got back from training camp, I was so far into school that I couldn't catch up with my courses. So I came to Kitchener and I go to school at Waterloo this semester.
You're pursuing the academic route, which is something a lot of players unfortunately don't choose to do. Were you traded because of that? And if so, obviously you have to be pretty pleased with the way you were handled.
Yeah, Larry Mavety, a coach in Belleville, he traded me to Kitchener because there's no university in Belleville, and he knew I wanted to go to school, so he let me go to Kitchener where I can go to school, and so it was really good math to trade me.
Let's just touch back on the undrafted issue. Steve Thomas was not drafted by any National Hockey League team. Look at him now doing very well with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do you look at guys like that and sort of hold them up in your mind as a bit of an example to give you some optimism?
Well, you know, you always think there's maybe a chance that you'll go on and play pro hockey, but you know, there comes a point in your career where you got to realize that, you know, that probably chance is not there anymore, and you got to look to what you're going to do after you finish playing hockey. And right now I'm looking at a school education. I want to get a science degree and maybe go on and do something academically.
By Ontario Hockey League standards, you were a grizzled veteran by this point. Now, when you see the rookies coming in and they're talking about NHL careers and so on, all the things maybe you were doing 4 years ago, do you have any aspirations to take them aside and set them straight, so to speak?
Well, no, you don't really want to ruin a kid's dream. You know, he comes in, he thinks he's going to make pro, but he hopes he's going to make pro. And you don't want to say, you know, you realize, but you want to tell them, you know, make sure you go to school, get your education, because there's always a chance, you know, that something will happen or you won't make it, and you got to have something to fall back on. Not everybody makes it, and you got to realize that.
When you look back over things, would you do anything differently at all? And by that I mean, would you look perhaps south of the border to an option of going to an American college?
No, I'd never trade in, you know, the friends I've made playing Major A hockey. You know, the coaches I've had, the friends I've made on my team that'll always be my friends. You know, the times I've had, you know, I've had some really good times. And no, I'd never traded in for an education south of the border.
Daran Moxam has been our guest during this intermission. Our intermission continues from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto right after this.